So hello all my dear students, I hope you all are doing good. So this is a very important session for all of you who are attempting their exams in November 2022. Okay, this is a session which is in respect of what are the topics in CFR and direct tax which you have to focus more, and what are the topics which you can focus slightly less, and what are the topics which you can focus the least. Okay, because CFR and direct tax, you all know that it's such a mammoth, it's such a big subject, it's a very vast subject. Even a very expert student or expert teacher, if they sits before the exam and they want to revise the entire subject in 24 hours or in 20 hours, probably that is the time which is left before the exams, between two papers, between paper 6 and paper 7. So if you sit for that, even if you have done that studies for 5 times or 6 times, and if you sit to revise for the entire subject in a day's time, it becomes generally an Herculean task to complete that within that time. Okay, so my objective is only to put your attention on certain topics which are absolutely important. Those are the topics, if you see the last 10 years paper, you will find that these are the topics which have always been asked in exams, and those are the mandatory topic that the student must do before exams properly, absolutely properly, not just going through over it. They have to do inside out about those topics. Okay, so without wasting any further time, I have divided all the topics into three categories. You can say it's an ABC analysis or an XYZ analysis or whatever you want to give that name as. Name doesn't matter over here. What matters over here is the content. So I'm showing you a few topics which you have to absolutely do before exams. Absolutely precisely, not before exam, well before exam. That is now in the study leave itself, you have to put special attention on those topics. Which are those topics, sir? These are the topics which have to be put special attention because these will come for at least how many topics you have mentioned over here, sir? I have mentioned around 8 to 9 topics over here. These are the topics which are definitely going to come in exam for around 55 to 60 marks minimum out of 100 marks. So 100 marks paper is there, including the MCQs 30 marks. You will be getting at least 55 to 60 out of these topics. The first question is definitely a PGBP question, okay, which will be a practical question, which is mandatory question. You don't have any option in that. The first descriptive question in your paper is of 14 marks. It's a PGBP question, computation of total income, along with other heads and along with chapter 6A as well, okay, and along with computation of tax liability. There might be implication of other chapters also along with PGBP, but the dominant part of the question will be PGBP, okay. Along with that, the second important thing which we need to keep attention is MAT AMT might be very important for your attempt in November 22, because in May 22, ICI has not asked MAT and AMT questions. So MAT and AMT becomes very important part in your next exam. Okay, that is in November 22. Apart from that, then firm, AOP, BOI becomes slightly less important. Cooperative society, all MAT with Indias is important for you because it has come also in the previous attempts many times. Okay, profiting deductions, you can do one or two profiting deductions which are very important, like ATIAC, eligible startup, like ATIBA, which used to talk about certain housing projects. Okay, so these are the few things which you need to do along with PGBP and assessment of various entities. Then question on taxation of trust or exit tax generally always comes in the exam. One question on taxation of trust and one question of exit tax. Either of the two will come in the exam in the form of a practical question. Generally, a practical question is asked in the form of computation of total income of a trust. But last attempt, they have asked a theory question. There were 4 parts of 2 marks each in taxation of trust. So this attempt, there are high chances that they will ask you what? A practical question on what? Taxation of trust. Okay. The next is the most important topic of your CFR syllabus. There will be one question on TDS and TCS. Definitely, TCS has also become very important recently because of so many amendments made in TCS. Now, the thing is, what to be done in TDS? It's a very big topic. Yes, I agree. It's a very big topic. So, especially the latest amendments, whatever amendments were made in the last 2-3 years, that is in Finance Act 2019, Finance Act 2020 and Finance Act 2021. Whatever amendments were made in the last 3 years, you have to do that particular TDS topic very precisely, because most of the questions in exam on TDS will be on the amendments only. Okay. The next will be non-resident chapter, very important topic for your exam. All these topics are going to definitely come in the exam. I am not saying there is no second thought about this. There is no second thought in my mind about these topics. These topics are definitely going to come in the exam, 100% sure, without any second thought. So if you know that something which is definitely going to come in exam, why the hell we will not do those topics precisely? Why the hell we will not do those topics thoroughly, inside out? So that even if someone asks me without revising those topics, we will be able to answer that particular thing. In case you are not well on the day before exam, God forbid that, in case you are not well a day before exam, you should be able to solve these topics without solving that before the exam. Okay. The next important topic is transfer pricing. Must do before exam. There will be a question on transfer pricing always, either on methods or on 92CE or 94B. These are some of the important provision, or NJA provision, 94A. These are some of the provision. Generally a practical question on transfer pricing. Then DTAA. There will be a DTAA question along with FTC. In the last attempt in May 22, they asked a DTAA question along with the calculation of FTC with that. That is foreign tax credit. Okay. Then there are certain small chapter 6 deductions which might be important to solve a DTAA question. Why? Because in DTAA unilateral relief question, they will ask you a computation of tax liability for an individual. And if you want to compute a tax liability of an individual, you should know what are the deductions under chapter 6A, like 80C, like 80D, like 80E, etc. You should be aware of all these things. Then a very important topic, very recent additions to the income tax law, that is alternative tax regime. 115 BAC, very important. 115 BAB, very important. 115 BAA, very important, which is alternative tax regime for what? Domestic companies. There might be an independent question on this. There might be an MCQ on this. And 115 BAA can also be helpful in a PGBP total income question, whereby they will give you a 14-mark question, as you can see over here, the first one. And in that 14-mark question, they might ask you what? They might ask you that compute tax liability as per 115 BAA or 115 BAB or as per the alternative tax regime. So in that case, it becomes a very important topic. Next, miscellaneous amendments. Certain miscellaneous amendments which we need to see. If you are not aware of that, if you have not done direct tax from me, then you can go through my website, download the colored book, and you will find out what all topics can come in miscellaneous amendments. There are certain amendments added by Finance Act 2021, Finance Act 2020, Finance Act 2019. So last 2-3 Finance Act, there are certain amendments which are added by the government. Those have kept at as a separate topic under miscellaneous amendments. Okay. Now, what should be your agenda? Your agenda should be whatever time is left now with you. If you are planning to revise direct tax, then these topics have to be your priority, because these are going to come definitely in exam for 55 marks to 60 marks, and you should have a target of how much? At least 45 marks out of these topics. So you should prepare in such a way that at least 45 marks you are getting out of these topics, these 7 to 8 topics. Okay. Now, one more topic you can add to this is equalization levy. Even though it was asked in the last attempt in May 22, less chances in November 22, but still, because it is a recent concept introduced by Finance Act 2016 and then Finance Act 2020, it becomes important for exam. Okay. Now, coming to these are the topics. I'm not feeling like leaving this page. I'm not feeling that I should leave this page. Okay. But these are the topics which you have to do in detail. In detail. If you do these topics in detail, you will be easily getting an exemption. Don't worry about it. When I say in detail, you have to do inside out all the provisions. Section number you may or may not remember. That is your personal choice. Okay. Writing section number is not absolutely mandatory in the exam. But remembering the content and writing proper content with proper language is absolutely important. Remembering section number is not important. Remembering case law name is not important. You may or may not remember the case law name, but the content has to be remembered by you. Third thing which you need to keep in mind over here is the first thing which I have said you may or may not remember the section number. You may or may not remember what the case law name, but you have to write the content absolutely correct. It cannot be very technical also. It can be slightly technical. Few important words should be used in your answers. That is something which is sufficient for the examiner to give you full marks. Then you have to do all the questions of this topic absolutely thoroughly. Absolutely thoroughly. All the questions. All the question, whichever question bank you are following, I don't know which question bank you are following my question bank, you follow all the questions of my question bank thoroughly, and especially that 127 questions which I have given in the form of challenging questions for you. You have to do that thoroughly. That will be very helpful in the worst case scenario. If the paper becomes very difficult, those 127 questions would be of great help to you. Then secondly, what is important? You need to do the mock test papers of the current mock test paper which is going to come. 2 mock test paper of the current attempt November 22 and 2 mock test paper of the last attempt of May 22. Current RTP, last RTP. And the May 2022 suggested answer. You do these 7 papers. 2 mock test paper now, 2 mock test paper last attempt, 1 RTP, and 1 what? 1 suggested answer of May 22. That much is sufficient if you do for these topics. You will be thoroughly done with these topics. Don't worry about it. Now, let's go to the next part. Now, next, move on to the second part, section 2, section B, where you have semi-important topics. Now, this covers topics which are semi-important. Sometimes they are asked, sometimes they are not asked. Sometimes they are asked for 20 marks also. Sometimes they are not asked also. So, you might take some risk over it. But in that also there are some topics which are very important. Like in capital gains. Do amendments properly, because there are a lot of amendments made in capital gains. Like 9B 45.4, they have not asked in last attempt, so they can ask in this current attempt. That is what? The dissolution of the firm, reconstitution of the firm. Okay. There are some RTP questions in that. You have to do all of them very clearly. There are some extra rules lectures which I have put on YouTube. You can see that also. That is in Hindi, but I have not put that in English. I'm sorry for that. Then dividends is important, 1010D important, very important. That ULIP amendment, 2,50,000 rupees, very important amendment. Slum sale not much important, because last attempt they have asked a question of 8 marks on slum sale, I guess. So again, it cannot be asked again and again the same provision. Demerger important, buyback important, gift provisions important, 56 to 10. ESOP provisions very important, because there is an amendment in ESOP For eligible startup, it can be extended for what? The perquisite will be extended for 48 months, etc., etc. There are some amendments in that, therefore it becomes important. Then assessment procedure is a very, very difficult part for most of the students. The reason why the assessment is very difficult for majority of the student is very simple. Because majority of the students have not studied assessment in depth, first of all, in their class. Secondly, even if they are studied in depth, they don't have any practical knowledge. So either you should have a practical knowledge or you should study in depth. Either of the two things has to be done by you. If you have not studied in depth, or even if you don't have the practical knowledge, then it is going to be a difficult task for you. But at least do important topics out of it. Because assessment is something which is not a hot favorite topic of ICI in at least last 10 attempts if you see. If you see the last 10 attempt of the ICI, assessment is never important for ICI. What is important for ICI is these topics. Pay absolute attention on these topics. These topics are going to be there at every bit and corner of your question paper. Be very careful about it. After reading so much in assessment, there will be hardly a question of 8 to 10 marks. So is it worth giving so much time on such a big part of your syllabus? Assessment includes a lot of things here. Who will give so much time? So most of the students do what? They leave that. Don't leave that. At least do some important sections like section 147, search and seizure. At least do 143.3, 144. Do some important powers like survey, etc. Search and seizure power, survey. It is important. These are at least some important sections have to be done by the student. Then rectification. Sometimes they are, sometimes they not. Penalty, very important. At least 270 penalty calculations, how to compute penalty, very important provision. 260 on SS, 260 on T, very important. When you take 20,000 rupees loan in cash. DRC, very important because it is an amendment made by Finance Act 2021 and there is also a statutory update made by ICI. Some amendments are added by ICI in the month of July 2022 with respect to DRC. Go through that very carefully. Okay. Then model convention, application of tax treaty and BEPS. These are absolutely theory topic, but one question, two question come out of it. So if you can remember theory, I would suggest you do these topics because one question will definitely come out of it of 6 to 8 marks. At least 6 marks question will come out of it. Either one question or two questions of 3 marks or 3 questions of 2 marks. Either of the things can come out of it. Okay. Then equalization levy, very important. As I've told you, shift that to section A itself. You can shift equalization levy to section A itself. That is very, very, very important topic. And then business trust becomes less important in this attempt because in last attempt they have asked a question of 8 marks on business trust. So they cannot ask a question of business trust again and again in back-to-back exam. There are very less chances. Okay. But a similar topic can be asked, like AIF can be very important in your exam. Securitization trust can be important in your exam because in last to last attempt they have asked AIF. In last attempt they have asked business trust. So next attempt they can ask either AIF or securitization trust. High chances are that. Okay. Now coming to some leftover topics. Like all these topics together will come for around 10 to 15 marks, not more than that. Okay, not more than that. Like appeals and revision. There are a lot of things to remember in appeals and revision. But who will remember so many things for 10 to 15 marks here? That too collectively it will come for 10 to 15 marks. But so at least do important things like in appeal at least do ITAT appeal because there is some important amendment in that. In set off at least do section 79 because that is a very important provision set off. Section 79 is very important. That question, that section has been asked in exams so many times. Then advanced tax, not much important. I'm not saying don't do, please, let me tell you. I'm saying give less priority to these topics. Securitization trust, AIF, very important. They can be asked in exam because in the last attempt they have asked business trust. This attempt they can ask AIF securitization trust. Mutual fund, not much important. 10 double important. They can ask 10 double provisions along with what? Along with the AMT implication. AMT, alternate minimum tax along with what? 10 double. Or BAT implication along with 10 double. Or ATI, ATIB, ATIC implication along with AMT. Or ATI, ATIB implication along with MAT. They can make a combination of both and ask you the questions. Okay. Then Vodafone case law, advanced ruling, not much important. Not much important. Taxation of tonnage, taxation, application and diversion, not much important. Segregated portfolio, not much important. Less chances you can give a priority at the end. At least if you don't have time, watch the revision video and go. At least there is something in your mind. And last but not least, GAR important. The GAR can be asked, but again in last attempt they have asked a question on GAR. It is not that they cannot again ask. They can again ask a question of GAR for 4 marks approximately, not more than 4 marks. Then faceless scheme, not at all important. Don't worry about it. Salary house property, again, not important for exam. Not much important for exam. So your priority should be what? Your priority should be this A section. A section has to be thoroughly there in your mind forever. Believe me. Just make sure that you complete this A part absolutely perfectly in the next 40 days, what is left before the exams. Okay. And that's it from my side. Whatever I could have said as an important topic, less important topic, and least important topic, whatever I could have said. But at the end, I would like to make a disclaimer that if anything come from C part, then don't blame me. That sir, you have told that C part is less important. There is nothing less important or more important. We are just saying out of our experience that what we have seen in the last 10 years, I have an experience of more than 10 years. This is my 11th year of teaching CA fund and direct tax. So I have an experience of more than looking at 21 papers. So out of that 21 papers, many old course, many new course I have seen in my life. So out of that experience, I am saying you that what is important, what is less important, what can be asked. But definitely, 100% these topics. Some topics might not be asked out of this, but collectively these topics will be asked for how much? Approximately 55 to 60 marks. Approximately out of 100 marks, including the MCQ part. Okay, I'm not excluding the MCQ, including MCQs. So that's it from my side. Whatever I could have done, I have done also in full English. I have taken an oath now that whatever I will do in Hindi, if I can speak in English, which I can, I think so, I can speak a little bit of English, not that great English. So I will do it for in English also from henceforth, because I want to give that benefit to those students also who are not able to understand Hindi. Unfortunately, you should understand Hindi first of all. But in case you are not understanding, it's okay. It's okay. There is nothing great that you are not understanding Hindi, then you are doing a crime. It's all fine. So I have taken a pledge. I have taken an oath that whatever I'll be doing for my Hindi students, for my North India students, for my West India students, for my East India students, that I will also do for my South Indian students. That is for English. Okay. So whatever time is left now, 40 days, just make sure that you give your best for the next 40 days. These 40 days are going to be one of the most important 40 days of your life. And if you give your best efforts, there is something great coming for you in the next few months. That is your CA degree. Okay. And that degree doesn't come without great efforts. You have to put great efforts. You need to show great amount of dedication. You need to put great amount of effort. When you sit for studying in the early morning, 7 o'clock, you should make a time slot of say 7 to 10, then 7 to 10 only. I will not get up before 10 o'clock. 10 to 1, then 10 to 1 only. I will not get up before 1 o'clock. You have to make that blocks of at least 3 to 4 blocks of 3 hours each. And you have to give at least 12 to 14 hours every day from here onwards. And keep away all the distractions from your life. Distractions like your cell phones, your friends, your relatives, except your parents, your brothers, sisters. Keep away everyone from your life for the next few days. You have your entire life to talk to your friends, to be with your relatives, to chill with your relatives. You have your entire life. But this time will not come again and again. And take a pledge, take an oath, the way I have taken for you all. You also take for yourself that we will clear the exams in this attempt. I want that to be written in the comment box. Everybody who is going to pass this exam will write that in the comment box that we will clear the exam in this attempt. Maybe with great marks, maybe with a rank, maybe with AIR, maybe with AIR1 also. Why not? Why not? Why not? So whatever I could have done from my side, I have done it for you all, and later also I will be doing it continuously for you all. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Take care. Bye all of you.